What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, and on the phone, we got Nige from Onslaught. Thank you so much for your time today, man. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Alex. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you here. The new album, Generation Antichrist, is the first new Onslaught album since 2013. So you have a couple of singles that have been released off of it, such as Religious Suicide and others. Can this maybe serve as like a clear representation of what the whole album is going to sound like?
Yeah, pretty much, I think. In terms, I'd say out of the two tracks, because obviously we released a track called Perfect Day to Die, which was a kind of tribute to our lost friend Lemmy, you know. So it had a kind of very heavy, punky Motorhead vibe to it. Whereas Religious Suicide, the latest track, what we released 2 weeks ago, is very, very much more sort of in line with the rest of the record, you know.
Mm-hmm. Being that this is the first album to have Dave Garnett on vocals, was this like almost a new start in a way for Onslaught?
No, because everything happened kind of quickly. I mean, we've been kind of expecting this situation to arise with Psy for a long time, so we've kind of prepared for it, if you like. So we've already written all the album, due to record it, and then us and Psy made the decision that we were going to split. So everything was done and dusted with the album. Basically, it was only a case of finding a new vocalist, which is Dave Garnett. And it was just a case of getting the vocals recorded. I mean, Dave just fits like a glove, man. He's similar in some ways to Psy, but he obviously has his own vibe and his own take on things. And we didn't want to go radically away from the Onslaught sound, because that wouldn't have been a good move. So I think Dave's bringing a lot to the table right now. People are loving what he's doing. I mean, we were obviously concerned there was going to be a little bit of where's Psy? We love Psy, blah, blah, blah. But that hasn't been the case, because Dave's done such a great job. I think people are just looking at that, you know.
Yeah. So, can this also be considered a follow-up to 6, and is there going to be elements of Sounds of Violence and Killing Peace and so on and so forth?
Yeah, there's obviously going to be elements of that in there, because predominantly I'm the main writer for the band. But having said that, we kind of took a look at things before we made this record, because my writing partner on the last 2 albums is no longer with us, Andy Rosser Davis. So I approached the writing pretty much on my own. Wayne, our other guitar player, has made some great contributions, but the majority of it has been done by myself. So me and Jeff, our bass player, sort of discussed the overall vibe of the album before we started the writing, and we decided to take a little look back, maybe take a couple of steps backwards to maybe hopefully take us a few steps forward. The last album, 6, was very, I'd say, it's not progressive in any way, but technical probably would be a better word. It was probably the most technical record we made. Well, I love the album, yeah, but I think I want to take it back to more raw energy, you know, like we have with The Force and stuff. So we kind of looked at what we were doing on that album, stripped things back, a much more open production and stuff. And yeah, so we've gone a little bit backwards to hopefully go a lot of steps forward with this one.
Yeah,
it's much more raw.
Okay, was there that kind of like a preconceived idea? Like when you were writing for this album, were you kind of like going into the studio knowing this is how you wanted it to sound, or was there maybe some improvising involved?
I mean, you always get a bit of improvising, but we definitely had a clear plan going into what we were trying to achieve with this record. So we were looking at our early influences a little bit more, looking at the Force album, and I just took it from there, really. Obviously, once you start writing and getting into the songs, you bring in the intricacies a little bit. But the overall basics of each song are kind of really stripped back in comparison to maybe Sounds of Violence and the 6 album.
Mm-hmm. For your guitar soloing and your guitar work, do you have a theoretical background that you apply to the music, or are you self-taught and you tend to improvise in the guitar work as well?
One thing what we did on this album, I mean, I am self-taught, but I've had a few guitar lessons over the years, and when I really needed to learn something in particular, you know. But what I did find on this album was we were using a lot of certain chord structures and chord changes on the last two records that were very different. This is one of the things that kind of came up when we analysed what we did on Let It Be Death, not Let It Be Death, on the Force album in particular, and to some extent in Search of Sanity and Killing Peace, we kind of changed our chord progressions a lot, and it's surprising just a couple of little changes, what difference it makes to the overall sound of the tracks. So we did implement some kind of different chord structures on this album compared with the last two, which have obviously referenced back to the Force album in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always said that chords and guitar soloing and riffs always convey just as much emotion as a vocal melody or even the lyrics as well. Is it almost kind of like, do you almost play like what you are feeling? Are the songs or the riffs like representative of an emotion?
Yeah, definitely. But like I said, it was weird when we actually analysed what we did on the Force. It really struck home what the difference was, even though it's maybe just a couple of different fret positions or whatever to change in each song. That it changes the sound radically. Like and when I just sit down, I got those set of notes in my head for the new song, so I just sat at home jamming and seeing what comes out, and it's surprising the difference it makes. And it's just given this album a completely different identity to the last two.
Definitely. And, you know, it's funny, like, so being that you are self-taught, it's not like, you know, you're like going into it knowing I'm working off of this scale or in this key or anything like that.
No, I mean, the only times I will delve into that, I mean, I don't know any scales or nothing. I know what certain ones sound like or what modes sound like, but if you ask me to play one, I can't. That's not my bag, you know.
Yeah.
But the only time I will pull on anything like that is if we go in for like a kind of Middle Eastern Arabic kind of vibe. That's the only one that I know my go-to scale or mode that I know is going to sound how I want it to. The rest is like, well, I don't know.
Yeah. When you look at the entirety of the Onslaught catalog, from Power from Hell to Sounds of Violence and so on and so forth, is it almost kind of like a timeline or maybe a self-portrait of who you and the rest of the band are at that particular time?
Yeah, I think so, because the first two albums in particular were very, very close together. There was a big gap to In Search of Sanity for a few different reasons, but even in that gap, you can see the difference in the band, which I guess is a lot down to me personally also. So yeah, I mean, you think about things as a person, especially on this one. 7 years is a long time between albums. We didn't quite realise it was that long, but obviously you change as a person in that amount of time, and pick up different influences and different vibes on things, especially lyrically. So yeah, I mean every album's very personal to me as it is, but especially on the big gaps, I think it's going to be more noticeable than a quick fire albums like the first two.
Yeah. You ready for the most difficult question of the whole interview? I normally save this for last, but
yeah. Go for it.
How do you know when a song is done?
Wow. Yeah, that's a very good question. Very good. Something I've learned on this album as well. I'm still learning after all these years. It's just like that. It never ceases to amaze me. Whereas, say on the In Search of Sanity album, for example, we're just rinsing out songs as long as they could. Let's extend this bit. Let's extend that bit. And like you get tracks like Welcome to Dying, which go on for like 12 and a half, 13 minutes, and I think that was a problem with a lot of the bands back in the 80s, who just extended things and making songs as long as possible. Whereas now, with this album, I was stripping stuff out. And we've actually re-recorded the track In Search of Sanity as a bonus track to use here and there. And I find myself stripping that back, some overly long parts, you know. And again, I like to interact with fans and get their thoughts on things, whether it be positive or negative. because either way is very, very helpful. And if somebody says, "Oh, this section goes on too long," and this and that, then I take that on board. So now I try to keep everything as concise as possible, really, really focus, but not too over long. I don't want people to get bored of that certain part, but I want them to hear it again. So I just find this album's probably, I think, it's 35 minutes long, something like that. And that's just a case of just stripping the songs back to basics. I think there's two songs under 4 minutes on the album, which is quite unheard of for Onslaught, really. So yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. Now it's like the song's there, and it just hits you, and then it's gone. And that works for me on this record.
Yeah. Being that you are the primary songwriter for Onslaught, is there ever a time that where outside influence can also play a role?
I try, especially when we're writing. I try not to listen to too much. I don't want things subliminally going into my head and coming up with this. Oh, I got this great riff, and like everybody's nah. I've heard that one before. So I really try to stay away from stuff. I do reference our own music a lot, just to get the vibes on things I like what we've done in the past. I mean, it's not a case of ripping yourself off or plagiarizing yourself. It's just looking at good things we've done and doing new things but in a different way. I think with the with the input we get from the rest of the guys in the band, because obviously as I'm writing stuff, I'm sending them out to them all the time for thoughts and comments and any bits they want to add or change and stuff. So really, any outside influence I'll get from myself is just from the rest of the guys in the band.
Yeah. In order to get that inspiration to write, like, especially, I'd imagine there's a lot of creative independence involved, but, like, do you almost need to be in a certain room or have, like, a certain... Does inspiration just come out of the blue sometimes, or do you almost have to put yourself in a certain realm in order for the inspiration to come?
I've got a particular way I like to write, and I've done that. We did that for Sounds of Violence and Six. I really don't enjoy writing in the studio. There's no disrespect to the other guys, but I find that it's a case of like maybe too many cooks in the room, and things can start going around in circles, and sometimes you never get anywhere. So me and Andy on the previous two albums, we used to sit in the studio, record everything we played, every idea we had, and that worked for us because we could quickly, that something's good, keep that, something's rubbish, kick it out, So it was a little tougher this time because I had to do it all on my own, and I didn't really have anybody to sort of feed off of in the same room. But I just like the way that you can see, and I like to record everything and analyze everything and then send it out to the guys and wait and make some changes, or say I've got something that's going to work well in here, and that just works. And the way when I start off, I have a list of song titles. That's what gives me the vibe of the overall track. So, for example, it's Strike Fast, Strike Hard off the new album. That's gonna have a fast, aggressive kind of tone to it. So I try to paint the pictures of all the songs before I actually start picking up the guitar, just lyrically from the song titles and stuff, and then take it from there.
So when you're writing something, you know that you are writing the verse, or you know that you're writing the bridge, you know that you're writing the chorus. It's not like it happens by accident or something like that.
No. Sometimes it does, obviously, but yeah, I like to structure the way I write very, very clinically, And as I said, basically starting off with the song title, so I kind of almost get a vibe for the chorus straight away, and then build stuff from there.
Mm-hmm. What gear are you using mainly? Like in terms, like, do you have your rig set up in a specific way in order to get the Onslaught sound?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have a little tweak after the guitar tone on this album, but I've been pretty constant what I've been using for the last 4 or 5 years now. I'm actually using a Kemper all the time for live, whether it's for fly 2 shows or drive shows, because it just works so well. And I'm either going back into a factory turn of my Angle amp or a Marshall amp, which I think that works best because you're still getting the Valve tones from the amp, and the Kemper is just so it's there, it's the same every show, and that really works for me.
Yeah,
But
it seems like Kemper has been the go-to for almost every guitarist, regardless of what genre.
yeah, I mean, all the guys I see, like Testament and all the guys like that, they're using the Exodus and thing. And it's like I said, you can just put it in your bag, take it on a plane, and you get off. You go into the back of another amp at a show or festival, and the tones there is just incredible piece of kit. Like.
Yeah, a lot of people like may argue that like Kemper is not as authentic of like a Marshall rig with tube amps or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I like to go into the effects return. I never use a DI. I hate DI, so I would never use a DI tone from the Kemper at all. It's got to be going through a bank of cabs. Preferably, I on a Marshall DSL. I really love going into the back of one of those, or Engel Fireball sounds great into the back of one of those as well.
Yeah.
So you're basically getting all the tubes from the amp, so all that comes back to life. It sounds really good.
Yeah, they said like comparing like a Kemper, it's almost like would you rather bring your entire CD collection with you on the go or just have every song on your iPod, you know?
Yeah, our other guitarist had one of the what are the other ones? The French one. It was Kemper or can't think what it was like. The other modelling amp, but I always found the Kemper was kind of head and shoulders above that one for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean I'm over the moon with that.
Yeah. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Obviously thanks to a certain virus that shall not be named. Obviously, live shows aren't in the question for now, but I'd imagine that, with this new album coming out in August, I'd imagine we'll be seeing a lot of you once shows pick up again, right?
Yeah, we were all of these work visas because we were supposed to be doing Maryland Death Fest, California Death Fest, and we were planning. It was in booking stage for North America, Canada tour for late October, November, and all the work visas were done and everything. So it's like back to the drawing board on those. I know that the two festivals are rescheduled for next year, so that's great. We just got to make plans for the tour again now. So
yeah, will you do a full North American tour in support of this album, maybe?
Yeah, sure, yeah, without a doubt, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Nige,
100%.
Nige, thank you so much. Everybody, we are here with Nige of Onslaught. Be sure to pick up their brand new album coming out in August, Generation Antichrist. This is Alex from Heavy New York, and we will see you next time.